Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Enneagram and Coaching. I'm Hillary, your certified Enneagram coach. I'm a type 9 wing 8 on the Enneagram, also known as the Peacemaker. And a little bit about myself for those new here is I'm married to a type 8 wing 9, and we've been married for almost 21 years. And I have two teenage boys, a 19-year-old that is a type 3 and a 17-year-old that is a type 5. And in this video, I just kind of want to teach you the basics of the Enneagram, just a couple of things about each type and kind of what the Enneagram is and what it's not, and kind of give you a foundation in which to build on. And so let's start with, what is the Enneagram? If you're new to the Enneagram, then this is the best video for you to start with. Okay, so you have the Enneagram, you see the circle, you see the numbers 1 through 9. It's the 9 basic types in the world, and one of which we embrace as children to cope in the world. And what this means is there are unconscious motivations that really powerfully influence each type, how they act, think, and feel. So you have the 9 types. You have the type 1, the perfectionist, the type 2, the helper, the type 3, the achiever, the type 4, the individualist, the type 5, the observer, the type 6, the loyalist, the type 7, the enthusiast, the type 8, the challenger, and the type 9, the peacemaker. So those are the 9 types. And I know it might sound silly that there are only 9 types in the world, which in all honesty, that's not true. Those are the 9 basic types, right? And that's what I'm going to teach about today. But when you add wings and triads and subtypes and all these other things in, it makes different shades of each type. And so I always like to use the type 9, okay, maybe we're the shade blue, but then you add the wings in and the other things in, we might actually be more of a turquoise, but we have a type 9 friend who's like navy blue. Their core motivations are the same, but they can look different. So hopefully that helps you, because I know a lot of types are like, well, I'm a type 7 and Joe's a type 7, but we do not act alike. Again, it just means your core motivations, those things that powerfully motivate you in life, that's what you have in common. Everything else is more of a flavor, and it does make us all look different. Which leads me into why you should never type somebody. Because honestly, I don't even look like your average type 9. I get a lot that I look like a type 7, right? But I'm not. That actually was in my top 3, but my core motivations are of the type 9. And what you're seeing is the image I project, right? And so you want to type me based on the image I'm projecting, which doesn't work. It's our inner motivations that usually we only know. And so that's just the reason why I don't actually tell people their type. I work them through the whole process and we uncover their type, but usually that person is the one that would know their actual type. So how is the Enneagram different from other tests? So for me, I love all the personality assessments out there. You've got your Myers-Briggs, you've got your DISC, you got your Strength Finders, Hogan, I love them all. But what those do versus the Enneagram is a much different thing. They help people develop self-knowledge. This is so critical to have in life, how you understand yourself and other people. So I am big fan of all the tests, but Enneagram is much different than those other tests, because those tests, they just focus on traits. And the Enneagram, it's that inner motivation. What is driving people? That's what the Enneagram uncovers, the why behind why we do what we do. It has baffled me a lot of my life why people didn't, seek out peace the way I did. And this has helped me so much be able to accept other people as who they are and how God made them, and not have this expectation of them to show up to life the way I show up to life. And so it's so important to learn about ourselves, but other people too, so that my expectation in life isn't that everybody's a peacemaker, because that would be terrible. We need all types and all the giftings that they bring. And once I found out what motivated me, I was able to transform my life. I mean, the fact that I'm sitting in front of you right now in front of a camera, recording a video as a type 9 is actually kind of rare, because the type 9, they have a deadly sin of sloth, which means they're not awake to their own dreams and desires, and they don't necessarily go after them. But for me, the self-knowledge of this has caused me to fight against that and to push through that and to go after my own dreams and desires, the dreams that God has for me. And that's why I'm able to sit before you today and do this YouTube channel. Because once you have self-knowledge, you can start to make different choices, better choices. You wake up from that rut in your life, that autopilot that you've been on your entire life and weren't even aware of it. It just wakes you up. So what's an important piece? We need to understand the root of our motivation. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. The Enneagram can make you or cause you to feel exposed. Unlike those other tests that make you feel happy and joyful and ready to embrace these traits that you see as positive in your life, the Enneagram actually uncovers kind of like a shadow side. This other side to your personality. While it tells you some great things, like being a peacemaker, that's wonderful, right? But why am I a peacemaker? What motivates me to do peace at all costs? That's not always a healthy thing. So the Enneagram just shines light on the great things and also the hard things so that actual change can happen. When I first found out that I was a type 9, I felt so exposed. I was like, did someone read my mail? I felt seen, known, understood, accepted, and embarrassed. All these emotions were going through me at the same time. I'm betting that that's happened to you. If you know your type and you've looked at it really closely, usually those are the emotions that you go through, kind of like a little roller coaster of emotions. But if you don't know your type, this should help you at least start the process of figuring out your type. What I love about self-knowledge is it comes with self-awareness, and then also awareness of our own effect on other people, which is huge. Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, let's start with what are the 9 basic types? The type 1, the perfectionist. What motivates them? Well, a need to protect themselves, others, and the world. Okay, some strengths of the 1, noble, responsible, ethical, hardworking. Some weaknesses, judgmental, perfectionistic, critical of themselves and others. What is the core desire of the type 1? To be the good girl or the good boy and to be right and perfect. Some of the core fears for the type 1 are being wrong, appearing bad, or being unredeemable. Let's move on to the type 2, the helper. The unconscious motivation for the type 2 is to serve and meet the needs of others to win their love. Some strengths of the type 2, they are hospitable, they are generous, they are compassionate and supportive. Some weaknesses that the type 2 can have, they can be intrusive, over-accommodating, and hostile at times. What is the core desire of the 2? To be wanted, needed, and loved for just who they are. And the core fear of the 2 is being useless, dispensable, and unworthy of love. Okay, so moving on to the type 3, the achiever. They are motivated by success and achievement. And some of their strengths are, they are optimistic, focused, energetic, and productive. And what are their weaknesses? Arrogant, they could be self-deceptive, and they can be so success-driven to the point of unhealthiness. And what is their core desire? To appear successful and valuable and earn the respect of others. And their core fear is failure, being exposed, and not appearing successful. Okay, so moving on to the type 4, the individualist. What is their unconscious motivation? To be special and unique. What are the strengths of a type 4? Authentic, sensitive, expressive, and sincere. And some weaknesses in the type 4 can be moody, withdrawn, and dramatic. And what's their core desire? To be special and unique. And the core fear of the type 4? Being plain, unnoticed, flawed, and defective. Moving on, type 5, the investigator. What is their unconscious motivation? They are motivated to collect knowledge and understand everything. The strengths of a type 5, witty, objective, knowledgeable, and insightful. And some weaknesses of the type 5, cynical, private, and self-reliant. The core desire of a type 5 is that they would perceive and know and be capable and competent. That's what they desire. And their core fear is looking foolish, being invaded, and having their energy depleted. Next one is type 6, the loyalist. They have an unconscious motivation to feel safe and secure. Some strengths of a type 6, loyal, supportive, practical, and trustworthy. And some weaknesses of the type 6, cautious, doubtful, and hypervigilant. The core desire, to have security and support and guidance. The core fear of a type 6, anxiety, fear of fear itself, being alone or abandoned. Okay, so type 7s, I know you've been waiting all the way until this point, so it's your turn, type 7, the enthusiast. Their unconscious motivation, to pursue fun and adventure so they do not have to deal with any unpleasant feelings. Strengths of the type 7, optimistic, spontaneous, charming, and entertaining. And some of the weaknesses of the 7, they can be impulsive, distracted, and excessive. The core desire of the type 7, to be happy, content, and satisfied. The core fear of the 7, they are afraid of boredom, they have FOMO, fear of missing out, that's a huge fear to them, and they do not want to be trapped in emotional pain. Moving on to the type 8, the challenger. The unconscious motivation of the 8 is they present themselves as self-assured and they insert lots of strength and power in that, but what that masks is vulnerability and weakness. Some strengths of the type 8, they're super inspiring, they're energetic, they're confident, they're direct. Some of their weaknesses, they can be intimidating, they can actually be explosive, and even forceful. The core desire of the type 8, to protect themselves and those around them and to be in control. And the core fear of the type 8, being powerless, weak, and or controlled. Okay guys, so last one, type 9, the peacemaker. What's their unconscious motivation? Well, they want to avoid conflict at all costs, and so they are driven by a need to keep the peace. Some of the strengths of the type 9, easygoing, content, unpretentious, and accepting of others. Some of the weaknesses, they're indifferent at times, they're detached, and can be spaced out. They actually can remove themselves from a conversation and you wouldn't even know it. If it gets hard or gets overwhelming, they mentally can remove themselves from the conversation, which leads to them being spaced out sometimes. What's the core desire of the 9? Well, to have inner stability and peace of mind. The core fear of the 9? Loss and separation from others, being controlled, or being in conflict. Okay, so those are all 9 in their very, very basic form. That's why I kind of call it the Enneagram blueprint. It's just very basic. This was only to help you learn a very small foundation to start building on, right? And so that's the purpose of this video, kind of just to give you a small overview of the types 1 through 9. And the way the Enneagram works is you have your type, then you have your wings, then you have your stances, then you have your triads, then you have your levels of development, and your arrows. And there's even more than that. Those are my top 5 of what you should really learn about the Enneagram to learn more about yourself and others. And I have videos for all 9 types that teach you on the wings of all 9 types. I will link that right here. I also have videos on the growth arrows and stress arrows. And I've just recently put out a video on stances. And so all of those I will put in the description box below for you to click on if you want to go and watch those after this video so that you can keep building your foundation of knowledge. And if you want to learn a little bit more about yourself and you want to hear somebody else's interpretation and view and the way they're living it out, well, I have interviewed all 9 types. And so I have a bunch of interviews with different types, and I will link some of those in the description box below for you. So it's easier for you to click on and go to the video that would most help your type. And lastly, if you watch this video and you still find yourself a little confused, well, I offer a Discover You course. And what that is a 1-hour typing session where we go through your top 3, we go through the stances of your top 3, and depending on how much time, we might even go a little deeper than that. And the goal is to unearth your type by the end of that hour. And so I will link that down below if you are interested in a typing session with me. So that is the end of this video. I hope you guys liked it and found it useful. And if you did, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe below, because I do upload twice a week now. And if there's another video that you want me to record, leave it in the comment sections below. I love getting ideas from you guys on what next you guys want to see me teach. And I love it when I see everybody else sharing about their type in the comments box, because I see it helping each other. And that's the purpose of this video. I am teaching and I want to educate you, but I also want you guys to help each other too. And so that's been really fun for me to see and watch happen. So keep up the good work, guys. But that is it with this video. I will see you back here soon.